Welcome back to our author study of Tim O'Brien. We are going to learn one more writing tool today that he's been doing. But first, we're going to take a trip down memory lane and look at his previous tools. He uses concrete physical detail. I urge you to incorporate specifics into your writing. He uses allusions, references to history, to religion, to culture, and movies. And these allusions help add to his meaning. Of course, Tim O'Brien uses metaphors. Metaphors that are beautiful. Metaphors that are wonderful. As wonderful as the Blackhawks winning a Stanley Cup. That's the type of metaphors Tim O'Brien uses. And of course, he uses intentional sentence fragments to add emphasis on to highlight specific moments of his story. And what we're going to learn today is another writing tool, something I'm sure you've encountered before, rhetorical questions. What is a rhetorical question? Well, it's any question asked for a purpose other than to obtain the information that the question asks. Let's look at some examples of rhetorical questions. Here I've got for you a Geico supercut of all of these rhetorical questions, so give them a listen. Go, gadget rhetorical question guy.
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Do woodchucks chuck wood? Does a 10-pound bag of flour make a really big biscuit? Does Elmer Fudd have trouble with the letter R? Can football announcer Andre Scantor make any sport exciting? Did the cavemen invent fire? Did the Waltons take way too long to say goodnight? Does a former drill sergeant make a terrible therapist? Is Ed Too Tall Jones too tall? Was Abe Lincoln honest? Is having a snowball fight with pitching great Randy Johnson a bad idea? Is a bird in the hand worth two in the bush? Did the little piggy cry wee 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 all the way home? Does Johnny Daniels play a mean fiddle? That's how you do it, son. Geico.
Alright. Those questions, if you're looking at the purpose of them, the answer is yes to all of them. And you don't even have to think, of course it's yes. Of course Geico can save you 15%. That's the purpose of those commercials. And we're going to look at some of these purposes. One of them is to make a point. Why are you so stupid? I'm not actually asking you why you're so stupid. Is it because you were hit in the head as a kid, or you were just born that way? Whatever. No, I'm essentially calling you stupid in that example. So making a point is one way of using a rhetorical question. Another way is to add emphasis to something. That was a heck of a hailstorm, wasn't it? Well, of course it was a heck of a hailstorm. I'm just adding emphasis. I'm getting you to agree with me. That emphasis is part of a rhetorical question. And one third way to use a rhetorical question is to express emotion. After a tragedy, for instance, sometimes you will hear somebody go, "Why me?" And that emoting rhetorical questions are a great way to kind of get that out. So these are kind of three main purposes of rhetorical questions, and obviously, as with all of our other purposes with these rhetorical devices, there's some flux between them. They're not going to necessarily be stagnant as is. So what I want us to do first is a little bit of practice, because rhetorical questions, such as, "Do you expect this room to clean itself?" your mother asks. There's a statement beneath it, hidden beneath it, or in some fashion. For instance, the declarative statement of this is, "Your room isn't going to clean itself. Start cleaning." That's kind of that hidden meaning. So I've got three more rhetorical questions here. The coach says, "Are we going to ever win that way?" The teacher says, "Do you really expect to get A's without studying?" And, "What do you expect me to do with all this mayonnaise?" Right? What is the underneath meaning, or that hidden meaning of these three rhetorical questions? Take a moment, write that down on your note sheet. Alright, now that you've got that taken care of, we're going to look at rhetorical questions in sequence, and how putting a string of them can add some meaning to it. So this is from a restaurant review. It's called As Not Seen on TV, and it was written by a fellow named Pete Wells. This is about Guy Fieri's. You may have heard of him from diners, dives, and drive-ins or something to that effect. But anyway, he had a restaurant, and this is the first paragraph that Pete Wells wrote. Guy Fieri, have you eaten at your new restaurant in Times Square? Have you pulled up one of the 500 seats at Guy's America's Kitchen and Bar and ordered a meal? Did you eat the food? Did it live up to your expectations? These are all rhetorical questions here. And I ask you this. What is the main idea of this paragraph? Take a moment and write that down on your note sheet. What is the main idea of this paragraph? If you wrote something to the effect of this restaurant is terrible, or Guy Fieri, you have let us down, that's exactly right. That's what Pete Wells is doing by stringing these rhetorical questions together. And I want you to practice doing the same thing here for a moment. So you're going to revise the following paragraph to include a minimum of 3 rhetorical questions. Bonus points if the entire paragraph is rhetorical questions. Bonus points if you incorporate the other writing tools as well. But be sure to keep the argument the same. Don't change the argument. Just update the style of the paragraph. And here it is. Make a little argument about lunch. Pretend, for instance, that next year you're only going to get a half-period lunch. And you needed to write through the principal to get that to change. How could you incorporate some rhetorical questions in here? I think we should be given a full 40-minute lunch period. Lunchtime should be about more than just taking in nutrition and satisfying hunger. It should be a time to relax and talk with friends. Students should be able to share experiences that happen in and out of the classroom. Sometimes I learn important things at lunch and make new friends too. Eating lunch at such a frenzied pace will make students feel like animals or even like prisoners. Cutting lunchtime in half is my idea of cruel and unusual punishment. I can't think of a worse way to promote healthy eating habits. So, update this minimum of 3 rhetorical questions. Thank you very much.